So my name is Monica Kunzel. I am a staff environmental engineer for ENGEO Incorporated, which is a geotechnical and environmental engineering firm based in the Bay Area. So we're located throughout California in Reno, Seattle, Guam, and New Zealand, and then in Australia as well. A little bit about ENGEO. We are, as I mentioned, geotechnical engineering and environmental focused predominantly in the hazardous materials space. So working on typically redevelopment projects, or when somebody is in the due diligence process, they need to have documentation to see what was on the site beforehand. So sometimes we're looking at a site that might look like it's clean, but 50 years ago it was a gas station, or 100 years ago, it was an agricultural site. And so we do a desktop study to see what we're looking at. And then we can follow up with what we call a phase 2, which is, it could be soil sampling, it could be looking at the groundwater, looking at the air beneath the soil to go ahead and do a full characterization. And then our geotechnical side is more focused on foundations. We do a lot of geology at ENGEO, but we do foundations ranging from residential developments all the way to high rises in San Francisco. So we have a pretty broad scope in that sector as well. I think a big part of it, first of all, ENGEO's culture is very accepting of everybody. So there's a lot of women that work at ENGEO, and in the construction industry, obviously that's not as much the case. So I think it's very important to be very prepared. I find that when I show up to a job site, I make sure that I have everything printed out. I've read all the documents for the site beforehand. I know exactly what I'm walking into. So I personally do a lot of preparation. I found that, especially when I was newer on the job, there is more doubt when you walk onto a construction site. If you need to have authority, you need to make sure that you know exactly what's going on, because there are situations where maybe you will be doubted, and not within the firm, but in a construction site that might be predominantly men. And so it's just making sure that you're always putting your best foot forward. You're always being prepared, you're being professional, and you're making sure that you know what's going on. And so I found that in being prepared, I can work easily with others. It's not difficult to walk into a job site, know what's going on, and also show that to others, right? By just the way that you carry yourself. So that's kind of how I've worked through. And then in terms of within the firm, very accepting, excellent community, and never had any issues in that regard. I have found that there are a lot of significant role models within my firm that I've looked up to, women that have been in the industry for 20, 25 years, and they carry themselves and just are incredible at their jobs and in leadership. And I've really looked up to them and how they've made a path for others in the industry, and just appreciate being able to learn from them and work with them on a variety of different projects. I think in college, we focus so much on what you learn from a textbook or what you learn from a lecture. And I had teachers and professors throughout my high school and college career that made me think beyond that. So I would say when you are preparing for the workforce, think about things that you need to know. On top of what you need to know for the industry, how do you give a good handshake? What's your 30-second elevator pitch? What do you want someone to take away when they first meet you? How do you come across in meetings? How do you run a presentation? How do you work with others? Those are the things that are going to carry you through your career, on top of having a strong industry knowledge, being able to communicate concepts clearly. There's a lot of different things that we use on a daily basis, specifically in engineering consulting, which is what I do, that will be invaluable in your career. And I think those are the things we should be thinking about right when we are getting ready to jump into a new career. So specifically for someone graduating college, that's just something you should be thinking about, all the things beyond what you learn in college.